Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrator's Report. I'm David Wass Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Mayo. Steve, welcome.
David, how are you? Thank you.
We finished town meeting in 2 sessions.
We were both wrong.
Nobody gets the beer this time
Nobody gets
around.
the beer, no.
And also with us this month is Chief Richard Smith. Chief Smith is about to retire on May 31st.
That's right. Thank you, David.
After
He wanted to be reminded, I'm sure.
You've been here in Wakefield since 2004, but you've been in policing for 45 years.
That's correct. I had the good fortune back in the day to start when I was 19 years old, and I started as a summer police officer out of Martha's Vineyard. But before we get into that, I want to start and I want to end with a couple of things. And first of all, foremost, I'm a really lucky guy. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to serve the town of Wakefield for 15 years. You know, there's always highlights and lowlights in your career, but you know, coming to Wakefield was a blessing for me. I had great opportunities here. I worked for 2 wonderful bosses. Tommy Butler hired me, and Steve Mayo has been an incredible support of not only me as a person, but me as an administrator and the Wakefield Police Department. And we couldn't be where we are. The department would not be where they are if it wasn't for the support and you know, from Steve Mayo. And Steve, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. And
appreciate
the council and the selectmen, and well deserved. You made it easy to support you, and our crew over there. So.
Well, and the townspeople have benefited also by all of the changes that Chief Smith has brought to the police department during his tenure. You really brought a community-focused approach to policing in Wakefield, which hadn't existed before.
Well, I'm a firm believer in, you know, the old adage, it takes a village, and there's no man is an island. It's done through partnerships, it's done through friendships, it's done through support from the community, and this community, the town of Wakefield, was incredibly supportive. And in many ways, I landed here, I was fortunate. There had been some changes that were made with my predecessor. He made the changes, and I was able to pick up some of the pieces and run with it. Steve Mayo gave me the opportunity to build an incredible command staff, and not many chiefs get that opportunity to do that. And you know, basically, in the beginning, Tommy Butler said, it's your sword. You can live by it or die by it. And when Steve came on, he said the same thing. And not wanting to die by it, I decided I'd live by it. But no, nonetheless.
Was that sword Valyrian steel, like on Game of Thrones? Yeah, it was definitely Valyrian steel.
Yeah, so we took the gifts and the freedom that we were given, and we ran with it. And you know, again, going through the staff right now, just running the names through my head, we were able to put together a good team who worked really hard, and you know, they made it work. They made it work. I'm a lucky guy. I really am a lucky guy.
I have a question for you, and I want you to expand on this. And maybe I'm not going to get exactly right what you say, but you often say that the police department is something to the effect of the portal which the public views society. Or maybe I'm mixing this up a little bit, but what does that mean?
Well,
I mean, I know what it means, but tell the community what that means, because it's really important and part and parcel of what you've done over the last, 15 years here, 15 years, yeah.
Well, you know, Steve, policing has changed, and as we know. Right. And it didn't change with Ferguson, Missouri. It changed. It was starting to change. It was starting to swing away from the rapid response and 911 calls. And, you know, where we rode around in steel vehicles with our windows rolled up, and we went from radio call to radio call. And we realized that we were failing. And what had happened was that we took that bull by the horns, and we said we have to be more community-oriented. And what has happened is, because of community policing, we've been very successful, and we've been able to, nationally lower crime. But what has happened is that with the scourge that's out there in the opiates, the increase in mental illness, and and people that don't have places to go at the end of the day. So what has happened is the police station and policing is the door to everything that we do. We service the social service agencies. People come to us for everything. And by that we mean that we're 24 hours a day. We're 24/7. And when people need services, we provide them. So when I say that,
Right.
that's exactly what I mean with our mental health clinicians, with our psychological, psychological advantages that we've had to treat the public and refer the public to the addicted. And you know, again, we've got away from the 911 type of response and get away from the enforcement piece and more into the educational piece. And so now when people need help, whatever it is, they come to the police department. And you know, it's a great honor to be able to provide that service for any community.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the honor is that, and what you've done is that people actually come to the police department for help before something happens. You know, something, I'm
Right.
feeling some of the people that are less fortunate, I'm feeling off, I need help today. And that's the relationship that you and your staff has created with a fragile section of our society. And you've told me a number of times is that we can't arrest our way out of this. This isn't what we need to do. So, you know, when I think of the programs that you started and that we were lucky to support in this town, the CIT program, what you've done with WAVE, all of those things are just incredible and just makes our community better, our people better, and it's quite a testament. And it wasn't without some battles that you and I had, not with each other, but with moving people forward. That
Well,
this is
changing
a new
the
way.
mindset.
Changing the mindset.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And the board, too. I mean, the board has changed incredibly. You know, the political side of the house, you know, as you know, I was the chief in Melrose, and I had 11 aldermen. And now the city council, but at the time there were 11 aldermen, and you know, that was always a moving dynamic. And when I came here, it was 7.
7, yeah.
You know, so that's a moving dynamic. And, you know, you have a job, I have a job, and they have a job.
Right.
So it's you know, it's a challenge, but it's, yeah, you're right. It wasn't without our battles.
Right.
We made it
But
work.
but you also came to a town that had a long history of doing things a certain way, and we saw the problems that were developing with that. For instance, the panhandling downtown that was such a problem, not, you know, when you came here. And now you have, if I remember correctly, you have a mental health professional who is available 24/7 to work or to ride with the police on calls to handle
Right.
these situations?
We have a clinician that's actually embedded in the department, and she goes out with us on patrol. She's available. She's assisted Deputy Chief Calabrese in the training of our officers. We've met the standards, the national standards for having mental health advocates and whatnot on board. So, you know, a lot of that it's timing, but a lot of that came through a lot of hard work and devotion by people down the line, because we were seeing officers are going out there 2 or 3 in the morning, and they're dealing with issues, I always say, in a third floor rear that people don't see every day. And they were seeing that there were more issues going on. There were child care issues. There were poverty issues. There were, you know, and it's in every community. It just, you know, some communities you see it more, it's more prevalent than others. But in having seen that and hearing the officers every day, we knew that we had to make a shift in how we do business. And, you know, so it's worked. And again, you know, people pitching in and understanding and wanting to listen to what we had to say, and WAVE and Wake Up and all those groups of human rights. It's all come together. And I think it's really helped make it
Oh, I agree.
a nicer
100%.
community.
You know, but the other aspect of it is people don't realize how highly trained you have been over the course of your career. And one of the things in your bio which caught my eye, you were a graduate of the 176th session of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. This is something that was established in 1930. And this is not an easy 10-week program to get through.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, well, the last one that hit me was the 6.1 mile yellow brick road challenge. You have to survive that, not just complete it. But, you know, in that 10 weeks, they cover intelligence theory, terrorism and terrorist mindsets, management science, law, behavioral science, law enforcement, communication, and forensic science. All things that have been morphing over the last 40 years from how they were viewed prior to how they're viewed today.
Right. You know, first of all, it's a great honor to be. Let me give you a little history on the FBI National Academy. And no, I actually just passed my 25th anniversary of being a graduate, and I did not go there with J. Edgar Hoover, contrary to
A little bit after.
But, you know, it's an invitational program by the FBI. You're invited to go. You're invited to attend. 1/10 of 1% of all law enforcement managers get an opportunity to go there. And quite frankly, we've been able to get our lieutenants and the deputy chief through there in the last 15 years. So, you know, it's incredible. It's an incredible value. It is residential. You live in Quantico in the FBI Academy in a dormitory environment, and you go from 6 in the morning until they tell you the day's over.
It's like boot camp.
In many ways, it is. It's on
Yeah.
Quantico. It's on Marine Corps base down there. Secure facility, but it's an incredible opportunity for people to go through. You meet people from all over the world. In my class, there were 18 foreign countries in my class, and I'm sure that, you know, lieutenants and the deputies can tell you probably the same story. But more importantly, David, and this is what I take away from that, is anyone can join any club if you write a check. The FBI National Academy Associates is the only law enforcement club that you have to attend. You have to go through. When I went, it was 12 weeks. Maybe we were slow learners, but when I had that, you have to go through that academy to be part of the associates. And you know, we're very active in New England. You know, it's a fraternity, and I've done it more times than not. You have a crime, you have an event, you have something. You pick up your phone, you go online, you find a graduate from, it could be from whatever the modern name for Burma is, and you pick that phone up and you make a phone call.
Myanmar.
You get that. You get that response. You get that answer, no matter where you go. When I was in Melrose and a new graduate, I had to call out to Oakland PD, Oakland, California, to work on a case, and I just went into my book at that time and found somebody, and boom, case closed. So it's an incredible asset, not only to the graduate, but what that person brings back to the
Exactly,
community.
and I think that's the. I'm not so sure that everyone in the community understands that, what's brought back by this training and how much safer and better and the best practices that we have. And
Right.
that's what really excites me, because we've talked about this a number of times, and that really is important. And all of our lieutenants have gone through the training. I'm not so sure that every force can say that in Massachusetts.
I was just going to say,
that's
how
true.
many
Yeah.
communities, just in
Yeah.
Massachusetts alone, can claim that? You know?
You know?
You know?
But I will say this to the character of those who have gone in this
Right.
community is that you're asked to go, you're invited. You actually get a letter from the FBI inviting you. But you don't have to go.
Right.
And many senior managers don't want to make that commitment, even though they've been invited. Our people, they jumped at it. And it's an incredible sacrifice. They're away from their family, they're away
Right.
from their children. They lose a lot of money because
Yeah.
they can't work overtime in details. You know, so it's an incredible sacrifice. Plus, you have to be in shape. You have to run the yellow brick road
Yeah.
to get out. You know, so it's
Which was designed and built by the Marine Corps.
it actually
That
is,
should give you an idea right there.
it actually is the final course that the Marine officer candidates run before they get out of Camp Barrett before they
Wow.
get out of Quantico. So they
And-
have to run that.
One of the reasons for that name is those who complete it are given a yellow brick, correct?
When you walk into somebody's office and you're a law enforcement manager and you walk into somebody's office and you see their yellow brick on the desk, which all of us have, it is like you feel like you're home. You're with one of your own, and that's, you know, it's a great honor.
Another accomplishment of yours is you've long been a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police,
True. Yes.
which is an international nonprofit,
Correct.
started here in the States, world's largest professional association for police leaders.
I had a great opportunity, David, to run for, and Steve was, very receptive and supportive of it. I had the opportunity to run for that. That's an elected position. And what it is you're one of the, I served as the vice president at large once I was elected. The ICP serves 150 countries with 30,000 members, chiefs across the world. So it's an incredible network. And what the board does, the executive board, which I was lucky enough to be elected to, is that we work on papers, we set policy, we work with Congress, we work with the White House, we work with Department of Justice to, facilitate excellence in policing going forward. And that's global. We get on, I get a chance to travel to a lot of countries in my time and see how they do law enforcement in those countries and share with them what our best practices are and what theirs are. You go into some places that you can't believe the human rights violations that have gone on, or genocide in those communities and how they, in those countries, and how they think,
Right.
as well as coming back here to the United States and seeing the diversity in policing. You're dealing with small sheriff's office down in the deep south, all the way out to places like San Francisco and Chicago and Miami, and you'll sit at a table with all these people, and it's an incredible opportunity. And they make a difference in policing. They really do. I am convinced of that. But it was a great 3 years I served on the board. It was an honor to be there. So.
One of the differences that the chief has brought to Wakefield, and a lot of people don't know this because we kind of did it under the radar, but the chief, fire chief, yourself, Tom and I from WCAT, Rick Stinson, the whole group that formed the emergency management group that really kind of codified emergency management in Wakefield, which didn't exist before.
Right.
And now we can respond to a large emergency in ways that weren't possible 10 years ago.
A lot of that too came from working collaboratively, especially on the, having fire service on board. There's the NFPA over here, National Fire Protection Association, is the ICP over here, the National Association of Chiefs of Police, and getting them to talk together is sometimes a challenge. but we were able to work that through.
In a lot of communities, getting the police chief and the fire chief to talk together is quite a challenge.
That's true. Not in Wakefield.
Not in
Wakefield.
Wakefield.
No.
No.
And it has nothing to do with being in the same building. It's just, Chief Sullivan, and before Chief Sullivan, Chief Parr, we got along, and we had a lot of, we worked together. And I think a lot of that has to do with, and I've said this to Steve a million times, my father was a firefighter.
Right.
And I was the only person in the family. We're all civil servants. All the kids, my cousins and whatnot. My father was a deputy chief, so I know the game. I know how the fire service works. I'm not an expert by any means, so I always had a little bit of affinity because I couldn't get on the fire department.
That's right.
I wanted to be a firefighter.
So what you're saying is policing was your second choice.
It was my second. It was default. I ended up on Martha's by mistake.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I was talking to some friends of mine the other day, and I was talking to one of our sergeants this afternoon, and the experience I had on Martha's Vineyard, as small as it was back then, I mean, it was 40 years ago, it was an incredible life lesson in policing because you worked alone. And
I bet. Yeah.
you had to
Particularly back then. Yeah.
You had to think because there's always somebody bigger, faster, and stronger. You had to think.
Yeah.
And I was blessed that I had that opportunity by default. Like I was just down there marking time to get on the fire department. Here I am 45 years later, still waiting to get on the fire department. Can you help me out?
I can help you. I know. The list came out. I didn't see a name on it. We got to work on that. We'll have to do some bypasses.
There was a Richard Smith
There
on the
was a
fire
Richard
department,
Smith.
but it was the
Yeah,
wrong
it was the
guy.
wrong one.
That'll be his second career in retirement.
I do think that what is great is that there is and we joke about it, and both chiefs joke about it, the camaraderie between both of you has made it a lot easier, because that's not everywhere.
Right.
It's not every community, and there is a little bit of overlap and what have you.
Well,
but
often
not
there are
here.
tensions between what the fire department needs and wants and what the police department needs and wants.
And I think that's trickled down to the staff too, on both sides, that they work really well together. And again, that's not everywhere, and that's a testament to you and to Chief Sullivan for working together on that. So
Well,
we
and,
certainly
and
appreciate that.
one really good example was the teamwork, not just with the multi-community fire departments that responded,
with the fire
but
in
the
October.
police response too during the Baptist Church fire, and how well everything was handled during that, even with the crowds that were down there. You know, there was never any chance anyone was going to get hurt.
But, you know, the fire service, they're the experts at mutual aid and incident command. They do an incredible job with that. And policing is late to the table on that. And we're learning, we're getting better at it. And we participate, we're a leader in NEMLIC, which is Northeast Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council of 62 agencies. And that night, as everybody saw the mutual aid response and the professionalism that the fire service use. But what they don't know in the background, we had called in NEMLIC to help us shut streets and close streets and redirect traffic and deal with evacuations. There were a number of evacuations that were going on in the beginning because we were strapped. I mean, our staff was tied up much like the fire service. So, you know, it's all about partnerships. It's all about working together and, you know, but I will say this, there's no other way to do it, and you know, everybody says, you know, this job. This is the best job in the world. I'll debate Chief Sullivan on that. Yeah. 40 years later, I'll debate him. But for my take, if you get into policing, it's the best job in the world.
What do you think are our biggest challenges going forward in policing?
Well, managing the opioid crisis right now is very taxing on us, Steve. It's taking a lot of our resources, but it's the mental illness that goes with that. That's not going away, and we have to deal with that. And although we follow the international model and, you know, we created our own programs, I really think that we have to get our hands around it, and we have to make the community aware that a lion's share of our time is spent on opioids, handling and dealing with the mentally ill, those who are less fortunate than us. And with some of that, you're going to see a spike in crime. Right now, crime is pretty much flatlined. It's not going through the roof. It's not dropping off. But I think the social aspect of America today is what we have to deal with. And that's tough to get people to understand what we do every day.
I agree with you 100%, because your opioid user or your drug addict isn't the guy in the gutter that you see. You know, it is people that are functioning in society and they're, you know, are functioning to a certain extent.
Sometimes
in
it's
society.
professionals who are working at
And it's
jobs
It's
9 to
really,
5.
and I agree 100%.
Yep.
And I worry about that, you know, that mental illness component because of that, and the tax on the grandparents. There are grandparents that are raising their kids because of this, and that's, you know, we say Wakefield is, you know, we're not immune to that. This is it happens here too, and it's heartbreaking.
But it's something that's
so-
not seen by
Right.
most people in their daily lives, unless they have a neighbor or,
you know.
or
Well,
a
the
family
sad thing
member.
is in many cases, it might be our cousin, our
Right,
brother,
exactly.
sister,
Yeah.
Very
you
well
know,
could be, absolutely.
You know, and that can happen in a heartbeat.
Yep.
The fentanyl, it's out on the street right now. I know, I'm confident, we know how this goes. It's cyclical. But right now it's devastating, and we have to get our arms around it. And, you know, that could be going out 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But then, you know, there's always something else. So,
Sure.
But we have to keep our eye on the ball, and we can't become complacent.
And I think it's great the way you've added very mission-specific positions, you know, to work on these things, a family services officer, a recovery coach that we're just adding now, things like that. And I think the community's been great. We have to give the community a lot of credit for supporting these programs and seeing and the importance of them. And We have to continue, but I agree with you. I think the opioid problem and the mental illness and all that part of it is our number one issue right now.
In the couple of minutes that are left, any final thoughts before you take off the 4 stars?
I could.
Only 2 minutes, only a couple minutes.
Yeah, you're gonna need a
We're
couple
running out of
days.
time
Yeah.
here, but
You know, I have to say, you know, I've been blessed. You know, I never thought when, when I went to Martha's Vineyard that I'd end up where I am, and have had such a great run. But again, I was blessed. My family's been good to me. My health is good. The communities I've worked with and for have been excellent to me. So I'm a lucky guy, and it's bittersweet. You know, a lot of people say, I can't wait to retire. When you do it, I've been doing it since I've been 19 years old. I've been going to work every day since I've been 19 years old with a gun. Okay, and I'm going to wake up one morning and not go to work and not be carrying a firearm. But you know, I really look forward to the future. I've been mentoring Lieutenant Scory. We've been working on this plan for years to, you know, with the lieutenants and the deputy chief to make sure that we have, you know, somebody lined up or people lined up to, you know, take a run at this position. The town is in great hands. There's an incredible staff there. You know, Steve Scory is going to do a great job. He's a smart guy. He has a great sense of humor. He's a compassionate guy, and
Very.
you know, like I have no doubts that he's going to do a great job, and it's going to be kind of fun to sit back and watch it and watch everybody grow.
yeah,
And,
keep in touch.
Yeah.
well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be doing a little bit around here. I'm on a number of boards, and
Yep.
this is my home. You know, so I'm not going anywhere. But you know, I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity. It's not many people get the opportunities that I've had.
I think the bottom line is that Wakefield PD, Wakefield community is much better because of you. So
Thank
you. That's the main
Yes.
thing.
Thank you, and
Thank
best
you.
wishes for the future.
All right.
And I hope
thank
you use that
Thank you,
fishing
Steve.
pole a little bit for a few days anyway.
You know, the problem is I am an excellent fisherman,
I know you are.
but I'm a terrible catcher. And, so the rod will get a lot of use.
Use, okay.
Yeah.
But
You can hook them, it's just reeling them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for joining
Thank you.
us. We'll see you next month.